Hello everybody, I pray that y'all are doing good. We're getting ready to jump into the new Bible series. This one is pertaining to Haggai. It's very short, so it's only 2 chapters, but I'm really hoping that as I expound on it, you'll receive more revelation than you have before if you've already read it. It's really important that we don't put God on the back burner. It's so important that we keep God first in our hearts and everything that we do, because God does not play. He will withhold things from you. He will allow you to be given over into the hands of your enemies, allow you to go into captivity. He will strip you bare if that's what it's going to take. You cannot idolize anything. God comes first, and it's just that simple. And anything can be an idol. So if you haven't already watched the Nehemiah teaching, please go and watch that before you jump into Haggai, because it's all going to correlate and come together, okay? So let's go ahead and jump in. Haggai chapter 1. I am reading the New Living Translation. I just find that it's a bit easier to explain what's happening. And also I will be looking this way at some point. And it's because I'm looking at the notes on my laptop, because that's what I'm using to upload the video, okay? So, Haggai chapter 1. On August 29th of the 2nd year of King Darius's reign, the Lord gave a message through the prophet Haggai to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. The people are saying, the time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Lord. Then the Lord sent this message through the prophet Haggai. Why are you living in luxurious houses while my house lies in ruins? This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. Look at what's happening to you. You have planted much but harvest little. You eat but are not satisfied. You drink but are still thirsty. You put on clothes but cannot keep warm. Your wages disappear as though you were putting them in pockets filled with holes. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. Look at what's happening to you. Now go up into the hills, bring down timber, and rebuild my house. Then I will take pleasure in it and be honored, says the Lord. You hoped for rich harvest, but they were poor. And when you brought your harvest home, I blew it away. Why? Because my house lies in ruins, says the Lord of Heaven's armies, while all of you are busy building your own fine houses. It's because of you that the heavens withhold the dew, and the earth produces no crops. I have called for a drought on your fields and hills, a drought to wither the grain and grapes and olive trees and all your other crops. A drought to starve you and your livestock, and to ruin everything you have worked so hard to get. Then Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and the whole remnant of God's people began to obey the message from the Lord their God. When they heard the words of the prophet Haggai, whom the Lord their God had sent, the people feared the Lord. Then Haggai, the Lord's messenger, gave the people this message from the Lord. I am with you, says the Lord. So the Lord sparked the enthusiasm of Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and the enthusiasm of Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and the enthusiasm of the whole remnant of God's people. They began to work on the house of their God, the Lord of Heaven's armies, on September 21st of the 2nd year of King Darius's reign. So y'all, very short, but full of wisdom, okay? So what do we learn from Haggai chapter 1? So we learn that self-interest dominates when God is not first, okay? So when you're not putting God first, you're focused on self. So the people weren't doing wicked things, okay? They were doing their things. So let me say it again. The people weren't doing wicked things. They were doing their things, okay? So they were doing what they wanted to do. The paneled houses weren't sinful. They were simply misplaced priorities. They invested time, money, and energy into improving their personal lives while completely ignoring the assignment God gave them. When God is not first, self becomes first by default, okay? Because we're selfish by nature, y'all. Sinful and selfish, right? So Haggai exposes how easy it is to drift into a lifestyle where God is no longer the center. He becomes an accessory, okay? We also learned that they were building their lives and not God's work. So the temple sat unfinished for 16 years. Okay, so just think about that. God's house is sitting unfinished for 16 years. Okay, not because they lacked resources, but because they were busy building their own comfort. They were advancing their careers. So this is what they're focused on. They're focused on advancing their careers, upgrading their homes, and securing their lifestyle. Meanwhile, God's work remained untouched. This teaches us that you can be productive and still be out of alignment. So let me say that again. You can be productive and still be out of alignment. So busyness is not obedience. I'm going to say that one again too. Busyness is not obedience. Activity is not assignment. We also learned that they didn't reject God. They simply ignored him. Okay? So they didn't say, we don't want God. Okay? They didn't outright say that. They said, not right now. That's the danger. Ignoring God feels harmless because it's quiet, it's subtle, it's polite. But it's deadly because it slowly removes God from the center of life. Okay? Especially the center of your life, right? So Haggai shows that ignoring God is just as serious as rejecting God, because both lead to disobedience and spiritual dryness. We also learn that indifference is more dangerous than rebellion. So rebellion is loud, okay? You've seen those rebellious people, how they're just out there doing whatever they want to do. They're the free thinkers of society, right? So you know when you're doing wrong, but indifference is silent, okay? So rebellion is loud, but indifference is silent. You don't notice the drift. You don't notice how far you veered, right? So the people weren't fighting God. They were simply uninterested in what mattered to him. Okay? Indifference blinds you to spiritual responsibility. It makes you comfortable with delay. It convinces you that obedience can wait. Haggai confronts this quiet danger head on. Also, we learn that God confronts their self-centered priorities. Consider your ways. It's not a gentle suggestion. It's a divine interruption. God is saying, look at what you're choosing. Look at what you're investing in. Look at what you're ignoring. He forces them to face the truth. Their lives were centered around themselves. God confronts not just their actions, but their values, their choices, and it revealed their hearts. So we also learned that self-focused living produces empty results. So when you're all about self, and you think you're really making forward movement, you're not producing anything, okay? As quickly as they were trying to obtain it, God was bringing forth that drought, and they couldn't even obtain it, okay? So self-focused living produces empty results. Well, what does that mean? It means that they planted much but harvest little. They earn wages but put them in bags with holes. They worked hard but saw no fruit. So imagine you got a whole bunch of coins, but there's holes all in your purse. It's all just going to fall through those holes, right? So this wasn't just misfortune. It was God showing them that life doesn't work when God isn't first. Let me say it again. Life doesn't work when God isn't first. So self-centered living always leads to frustration, lack, and exhaustion. God allowed emptiness to expose their misalignment. So imagine that. They're doing everything that they feel they should do in order to reap a harvest. But there is a drought. They don't understand why they're getting so little when they're working so hard and they're building their own house. They don't understand why nothing's working for them, right? So imagine when Haggai comes, the revelation they receive, okay? You don't put God on the back burner and then expect to get results, expect to get abundance, expect to get plenty. God comes first. We also learn that God disrupts comfort to restore alignment, okay? Let me say it again. God disrupts comfort to restore alignment. So the drought wasn't punishment, it was correction. God removed ease so they could recognize their need for him. He caused the drought and he can remove the drought. He's in control. So when comfort becomes an idol, God will shake it, okay? When convenience becomes a distraction, God will interrupt it. His disruption was mercy. His disruption was grace, okay? He refused to let them succeed in the wrong priorities. What we also learn is obedience shifts the heart back to God. Obedience shifts the heart back to God. So when they obeyed, God stirred their spirit. Notice the order. Obedience came first, then the stirring. Okay? Obedience came first, then the stirring. Many people wait to feel motivated, but Haggai teaches that motivation often comes after obedience. When they returned to God's assignment, their hearts awakened. Okay? So when they returned to God's assignment, their heart awakened. Obedience realigns the heart with God's will. And finally, we learn that God's presence returns when priorities return. So God says, I am with you, only after they reordered their lives. His presence is connected to priority. When God becomes first again, okay, His nearness becomes real again. This is the blessing of alignment. God's presence, strength, and favor returns when we return to Him. So y'all, even though it's a very short chapter and there's only one more tomorrow, there's so many nuggets in it, y'all. It's so much to learn. So I really do hope that this was encouraging for day one, and I'll see all of you amazing, beautiful, awesome, talented people of God tomorrow for day two. Bye-bye.